Republicans have challenged you on this point on Capitol Hill, and I wanted to give you an opportunity to respond. They point to Border Patrol's own numbers, which show that going back to October of last year, there were more than 1 million apprehensions, but then there were also more than 530,000 gotaways. That's roughly the size of the population of the city of Baltimore. How can you say that the border is not open?
So we removed, returned, and expelled 1.4 million people last year. Ask those 1.4 million people if they think the border is open.
And in El Paso, they've declared a state of emergency, but we've also seen this in other cities like New York and Chicago. I'm wondering, while so much of the focus is on the southern border itself, can you tell us more about the steps that DHS is taking to support those cities elsewhere, as this surge affects not just that geography, but other cities and states across the country?
I would say a number of things. Number one, we're grateful to Leader Schumer and Congress for the Emergency Food and Shelter Program funding in the omnibus this past December of $800 million. That's a significant increase over the prior year's funding of $150 million. We're working
back to the question of mass releases. I know you've pushed back against that, but the Florida Attorney General has filed a lawsuit against you, alleging that you are about to conduct a policy of mass releases with the news that was released yesterday. What's your response to that? And more broadly, what's your message to the judicial branch, who is playing a role in this process as well?
It is interesting to see some of the tools that we employ that are successful or operationally needed to be challenged in the courts. So our parole authority, when we use it to release a fraction of the people whom we encounter, and that is challenged, I question the motives of the plaintiffs.
The emergency food and shelter program that you just mentioned, groups in El Paso that are helping to feed and house this influx of migrants, they say this program has a problem in that the funding can only be used to help migrants who have encountered DHS and been processed. Is that requirement realistic to the situation that these communities are facing?
It is necessary, and I should say this past Friday, under the Emergency Food and Shelter Program, we distributed $332 million primarily to border communities. We now have, under the new structure that the omnibus that Congress equipped us with, we now have the Shelter and Services Program that we in the
restriction that it has to be, can only be used for migrants who have been processed. So what about those who have not been processed? Is there no way to help with addressing the humanitarian need there?
About $363 million to distribute through the Shelter and Services Program, and I believe that non-governmental organizations in the cities address the needs of individuals who have not been processed.